Okay, I'm going to show you some tools to protect yourself from the tracking from all these big companies following you around the internet, also Facebook. Because it's really interesting to hear Facebook here today. We have to be authentic and honest about ourselves. And I think that's really true, but we don't get that honesty from Facebook. Because what I can... If you look at Facebook and you ask them what is privacy to you, there's no real true privacy on Facebook. Just admit that. There's social privacy. Maybe you can decide you don't want this one and this one and this one to see your posts, but Facebook and Facebook partners, there's no privacy towards them. So it's not true Facebook, it's not true privacy, honestly. And the other part of it, real name policies on Facebook, that's not only to have a good discussion on Facebook and to be authentic. It's because it's part of the business model. It's a very important part of the business model to know your real identities as much as possible about you. So I'm going to argue against that because I think we need, as individuals, to protect ourselves. Because as you know today, which I said yesterday, when something is free, like Facebook or Google and lots of other stuff, or very, very cheap, you pay with your data. The problem is that you don't know the price you're paying. How much is your friends on Facebook worth? How much is your birthday worth? How much is your search on your health situation worth? It might be worth much more money than you want to pay for a service. So today, as consumers, we are paying blindfolded. We are paying without knowing how much we are paying for these products. I always compare it to in the beginning of the 60s, where a lot of people were very worried about pollution. This is from Mad Men, the TV series Mad Men. They were sitting out in Central Park picnicking, and after they picnicked, they just threw all the garbage in Central Park and they left. And that's what happened back then. We really polluted. And that's what's happening today with data. We are polluting with our data. We don't really know what to do to protect ourselves. It's really hard to do it. But we will see many more tools in the future, which will make it much more easy for us, especially coming out of Europe. Because a lot of people will say, well, I have nothing to hide. But then I have to say, then you are a very, very boring person. We all are humans, and we have stuff to hide. Of course we do. It also depends on what the situation is. Young women have a right to decide when to tell their boss that they are pregnant, and that's because they risk discrimination. So we have a right to choose who knows what about me when. So some of the tools. Just first, some of the very overall recommendations. Always ask yourself, when I post this online, on Facebook, or anywhere else, will I shout this out on national television? Because all platforms are public. Even though they say you can be private in here, you can just put your privacy settings right, it's not private. You know that. It's the good thing about Facebook is that we're sharing and we're getting everything out there. That's wonderful. That's the whole idea about it. But there's nothing private. Ask before you publicize anything about anybody else. We are all our own journalists today. So if you take a picture of someone and put it on Facebook, ask before you do it. It's really, really easy. We all should do that. And then always be positive and constructive online, because a lot of companies are collecting your data, analyzing you to find out what kind of person are you. Do we want to hire you in a company or not? Do we want to accept you to this university or not? It's very, very important for young people. Google yourself to check if you look good at Google. That's your CV. That's especially young people's CV. If the first 1, 2, or 3 pages show some bad stuff about you, you have to try and do something about it, because you risk losing a big opportunity. And then use pseudonyms, as I said yesterday when I spoke. I know it's not, you can't use fake names on Facebook, but I will recommend everybody to do that. Because yeah, it's not illegal. You might breach the contract, and I know it's very important for you that we use real names, but you have to protect your children. And you have to be 13 to be on Facebook. I know a lot of children go there before, then use another name. If you look at the Danish Lego.com, they have 50 million users, and they ask children to use a pseudonym to protect themselves. And I really think all children should do that. We can have a discussion about that if you want to. So it's very good when children grow up and as grown-ups to separate your identities. Be yourself when you're a professional. Build up your professional identity out there, because that's good for your career. But if anything is private, how do you define privacy? Don't share it with anybody, not even with Facebook or Snapchat or anybody saying you can be private in there. Surveys or research show that if you believe you can be private somewhere, you share more intimate details. But don't do that. Turn off Bluetooth and Wi-Fi whenever you can. You know, when you're walking around, your computer will constantly look for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi signals. Turn it off when you don't use it. I know it's not convenient, but the Wi-Fi signals and Bluetooth signals take out data from your smartphone. And then, of course, read terms of conditions. It's very hard to get through the terms of conditions of the big companies, but if you really read them, you are probably scared enough to give them all your true data anyway. I'm also using a cam jammer to put on my camera, on my smartphone, iPad. I call it a cam jammer, but it's just a little sticker, because people can actually hack your computer, especially on an open Wi-Fi, and film you through your camera lens. It's not happening that often, but over 100 women in Denmark had that experience, young women. So never share personal information like health. Health is very, very sensitive, and a lot of insurance companies really want to know about your mental or health situation. Don't share your exercise routes when you're exercising, because then you'll show where you are constantly, your location. Don't share location. Don't participate in bullying, because that shows that you're not a very good person. Don't shop when you're drunk or depressed. Don't share thoughts on your boss at work either. And don't share your birthday. I know it's really nice to get all these birthday greetings on Facebook whenever it happens, but your birthday in there is the first number in your social security number, and which is used for identity theft. And if you ask a policeman or a FBI person, they would never ever put their birthdays online like this. To generate a fake name, you shouldn't steal somebody else's name. That's not very ethical. So you should generate a complete new name. And you can do that on Fake Name Generator. Here you can decide what kind of, if you want to be a male or female, and what country you are from, so you get a real Polish name. And when you sign up to Facebook in that name, you should also have a fake email or a pseudonym email. Then you can just use Gmail or Hotmail and use that email with the same name. It's not 100% protection, because you also have to hide your IP address, your location. I'm going to show you that in a second. You know, you also have a right to be forgotten. If you have a big problem having something on Google and it's old or irrelevant, you can all get these slides afterwards. Then you can ask Google to have some links removed. And a lot of Europeans are doing this because it's destroying their career possibilities. You can delete Facebook. You couldn't do that in the beginning, but you can do that now. If you want to get completely out of there, there is a direct link to delete Facebook. And when you're searching, but I told you about that yesterday, do try and use other search engines. We really need to use alternatives to stop building up big data monopolies. And that's the whole problem about all this, is that there are so few companies sitting on all our data, and they have too much power. I want to show you how to block for cookies. And this will also block Facebook from following you around on the internet. looking what you are buying, what you're searching for, you know. So you should block that as well. I'll just show you how easy it is. If you do it on a computer, I'll do it in a Chrome browser here. Okay, go to disconnect.me/disconnect. This is only for the computer, because the cookie problem is biggest on the computer. So you're in here, you just say, get disconnect. And it's an extension for your browser, so it's only working in the Chrome browser right now. And I'm saying add this, and I'll show you here. Now you can see a little D up here, right, in your browser. Let's go to a website like CNN.com, just to see what's happening. Look at the D now and see, this one is blocking all the cookies going down on your computer when you go to this site. Let's see what they have. They have a Facebook cookie, so Facebook is actually following you around on CNN. What are you reading about? They have Google cookies, of course, as well. So Google knows what are you reading about, and that's all over the web. But this one is blocking for those cookies. It's very easy, and you can get some, you get a little booklet from me if you want to. Okay, I'll show you a little more things. If you want to be truly private, you can use this browser, the Tor browser. It's financed by the American government, actually. And a lot of police authorities will say the Tor browser, well, that's only for criminals. But I think that you can easily use that without being a criminal if you just want your privacy. And the problem with the Tor is that sometimes it slows down the traffic. So it's a bit slow, but it's really easy to use as well. And the more people who use Tor, the better it is. Then the honest people might drown the dishonest people, right? And then the VPN, that's a very important thing, because your location is just as good as your fingerprint. It's telling everything about you. Where do you work? Where do you do your exercise? Where do you take your kids in the morning? Everything about you. Your location is so important. That's why all mobile apps, also Facebook apps, they want your location constantly. They want to know where you are constantly. So you can manipulate that, and that's very, very important. And I do that as often as I can. I also use it when I'm in a hotel with open Wi-Fi. I also use VPN because it's also encrypting. It's also protecting me. And I'll just show you a new VPN I just got from Romania, which is really nice. Because, okay, let's see. Okay, I just bought this one, CyberGhost, and you have to follow how do you install it on your computer, and you can install it on your mobile gadgets as well. And that means that right now I'm in Ukraine, actually. Let's see, it's just so easy to use it when you have it installed. So let's say I'm sitting here in Warsaw, and I want to go to Denmark because I want to watch some Danish television, or I want just to hide. I don't want to tell the whole world that I'm here. So I can just decide, okay, I'll go to Denmark now. And I press OK, and you'll see now how this little dot is moving up to Denmark. It's moving my location. Brilliant. And that's what you can do with a VPN service. I can choose wherever I want to be in the world. And it's really, really cool. And that's a very good protection as well on your mobile phones, because cookies don't work that well on mobile phones. And cookies is a technology which will probably be dead within 10 years, because everybody knows how to use it now. So these big companies are finding new ways of tracking you. And one of the big ways now is IP addresses. So do use that one, or whatever, VPN. It costs you $5 a month. That's one of the services, the price for you have to pay for it. But at least you know how much $5 is, right? Email, if you use Gmail, Hotmail, or all these free emails, you just know, don't use it for anything you feel is private. It's like an open postcard. If you want a private email, either use your telephone company in Poland, which is probably regulated by the authorities, or buy one from, for example, Germany is always a good place to get stuff, or Switzerland, Norway, Finland, these are just some of them. Iceland is also pretty good. So we're seeing a lot of new services helping you to protect yourself. And finally, chatting. How many in here use Facebook Messenger? Let me see. All up with the hands. It's a lot of people, right? And you know what you're giving Facebook Messenger using that? You're giving them almost everything in your phone. And as I just told yesterday, Spotify tried to change their privacy policy. And they wanted also everything from your phone. All your pictures, all your contacts, all your location. And that's what you're paying to Facebook. But it is a really good service. You just have to be aware that you are completely tracked, everything what you're doing. So there are alternatives, and I know it's really hard, but you're school teachers, and maybe you should promote it in classes instead of using Facebook. Wickr is a really good one from the US. It might change in a couple of years if Facebook buys it, like what's happened with WhatsApp, you know. But we have just to be aware who owns what. And right now, I can recommend Wickr. And it's very, very easy to use, and the user face is very, very good. Signal is also good, but it's a bit harder and more techy. But try Wickr. You can even send videos and pictures, and I use it with my 8-year-old niece. So all kids can use it. I'm done now. Yeah, I'm done now. I just want to say that this is a Danish booklet I did for especially teenagers. It is about how you can protect your privacy and how you can optimize your digital identity. Because it's very important also that you are visible online, that you can be found, but you should be found in a way you want to be found. So this is with lots of tools to do that. And I translated it into English. And if you want that, you can just send me an email. Or the organizers also got it. So you can get it from the organizers as well. That's it. Thank you.